You were on the phone, your dad could hear you, and I believe you could hear him as well. Can you just talk about what happened toward the end? Because you remained on the phone for a long time.
Yes, so the nurse at the hospital thankfully offered to take his hospital phone and rest it right up next to his ear. And he couldn't really talk, but we could hear him breathe. And so we just had time together. I was able to merge all our calls on this one line. And so we were able to share lots of memories with our dad and tell him how much we loved him, kind of cheer him on. And we could really hear him suffering. But just hearing him breathe, it was like our connection to him and how we knew he was still alive.
How long did you stay on that phone?
It was over 30 hours.
Wow.
It was overnight, and we would doze off. And then one of us would say, "We love you, Dad. We're here for you, Dad." And, it was a really long call. And we were all in different places in the world: Denmark, North Carolina, Texas, and upstate New York.
How many of you were on the call?
All four of us.
Wow. What an extraordinary thing. My mom died this past summer, and me and my family were able to be with her at the end and with her throughout. But it's so important it's such a it's an extraordinary experience. And even though obviously it's different on the phone, to be able to have that time, to be able to say all the things you want to say, that must, it sounds strange to say, but that is a great blessing if one is going through this.
It was a huge blessing. It allowed me to have some sort of closure. Like you said, I was able to say what I needed to say, knowing it was the end. And even though I couldn't see him and I couldn't hold his hand, having that connection over the phone was incredibly valuable.
Patients who've come out the other side of having coronavirus call them built-in hazmat suits. They're known as antibodies, and right now there's a push to have as many Americans tested for them as possible. The tests seen as crucial to getting Americans back to work.
When you're trying to find out whether a person is infected, that's the test we always talk about.
A test for antibodies is not the same as a standard coronavirus test. Antibodies are proteins developed by your body when you're infected with a virus like COVID-19 to fight it off. If you've recovered from coronavirus, your antibodies remain and give your immune system a memory of the virus. So if you get exposed to coronavirus a second or third time,
those antibodies that are floating around in their blood will recognize that virus and will hopefully neutralize it.
So how can testing as many people as possible to determine who has antibodies against coronavirus and who doesn't help get the economy open again? First, by testing people individually and clearing them to return to work.
Whether or not this person can end social distancing, maybe this person should be a frontline worker.
But also by testing a whole community, or at least getting a representative sample.
Antibody testing in a community might tell you that your community was hit pretty hard with this coronavirus and there's a lot of herd immunity, meaning lots of people were exposed and this virus is unlikely to find that many victims in your community anymore.
But right now, antibody tests are not the silver bullet that will get America's economic engine humming again, at least not as fast as President Trump wants it to. One reason is because, according to one public health advocate, a lot of antibody tests that have been tried out have been unreliable.
The danger in these tests, if you don't understand the quality, is that it could give you a false positive, could give you a false negative. You don't know the accuracy of it, and you could really put people in danger by giving them the wrong information. You could let people go back to their lives when in fact they're still infected.
Another problem is that there are not enough antibody tests available, although Dr. Anthony Fauci and other top health officials say they are trying to get them to the marketplace as soon as possible. The FDA has not yet approved any antibody tests, but the agency is expediting its review process in order to get the tests to the public as soon as possible. Still, it could be weeks or even months before the tests are widely available. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
And one of the reasons...
It's President Trump's favorite drug combination to talk about.
I just hope that hydroxychloroquine wins, coupled with perhaps the Z-Pack, as we call it.
But Tuesday, the National Institutes of Health recommended against the combination of hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin, an antibiotic also sold as a Z-Pack, unless a patient is in a clinical trial, saying there is potential for toxicities. At the White House briefing Tuesday evening,
a panel of experts at the NIH is actually now recommending against the use of hydroxychloroquine in combination with Z-Pack, which is something you've been recommending.
I'm always willing to take a look.
There are several other drugs being studied to see if they'll help COVID-19 patients, such as the antiviral drug remdesivir. The NIH panel didn't endorse any of them, saying more clinical trials need to be done. And now, doctors are planning to study another class of drugs, those that treat blood clots.
Virtually every single person that I'm seeing, that I'm asked to interview and examine, has a clotting problem with severe COVID disease. And the clotting problems are the most profound that I've ever seen in the ICU setting.
Broadway actor Nick Cordero contracted the novel coronavirus and had his leg amputated because of a blood clot. He survived, but blood clots can be deadly. Doctors trying to figure out the right drug to prevent these clots, another way to save the lives of patients with the novel coronavirus. Elizabeth Cohen, CNN reporting.